Beyond Being Good series of videos. In this episode, I'm going to be speaking with you about personality preferences and their relationship to performance. You will have seen in a previous episode that understanding your personality profiles of your team members is a critical aspect of creating a high-performing team, or a team that matters, as I call them. A key issue with personality preferences is these three issues. Number one, your personality preferences should never be an excuse for poor performance. So your personality preferences should never be an excuse for poor performance. Your personality preferences should never be an excuse for poor behaviour, so behaving in ways which are unacceptable. And finally, your personality preferences should never be an excuse for poor communication. Too often people will say things like, I'm a such and such, that's why I just yelled at so and so, or I just didn't do it because I'm no good at attention to detail. Remember, your personality preferences, and we're all different, can never be an excuse for poor performance, poor behaviour and or poor communication. Now, whether you've done the Myers-Briggs type indicator or the DISC or the WAVE, whatever the tools that you use, one of the challenges that I have with a lot of those tools, despite the fact that technically and scientifically they are just fantastic, one of the key issues I have is that too many people are so busy being experts at their field of expertise that these tools require a level of expertise that's higher than most people have available to them in order to make sense of them and make them useful. So while I accept that the tool that I like to use called What Makes People Tick by Des Hunt is not as good technically as these ones, the issue about it is that I think it's useful because it's easy to remember. So the What Makes People Tick tool helps people to get clarity about their preferences and then understand the preferences of the people with whom they're working so that they can improve performance, improve communication and make sure they stay aligned with the behaviours that they have agreed. So there are 4 parameters with this particular tool. We have the extroversion and introversion parameters, and we have the people focus and task focus. None are right or wrong, they're just preferences. So remember, with preferences, it doesn't mean that you can't do the other behaviours, it's just not your preference. So if you've got to do a lot of focused reading and look for all of the attention to detail issues, even if that's not your preference, you can do it. It's just that if you have to do that for a long period of time, your performance with that particular task will probably wane over time. So it'll probably get less and less. So it's important to try and be doing work that fits your preferences because that's your strengths, if you like. So the first type, which are people-focused people and extroverted, are known as peacocks. Now, you imagine a peacock in nature and you think of the personality that comes with it. It's a look-at-me personality, it's a look-at-my feathers, it's someone that can communicate well, it's someone that's persuasive with the way that they talk. At the same time, if you think of a peacock in nature, imagine how they would react to feedback. Most likely they're going to take it personally. What do you mean my feathers don't look so good? And people with that sort of personality preference, that's what they're like. It doesn't mean that they can't hear and accept feedback. They just have to understand themselves and the people providing them feedback that initially they're probably going to take it to heart and feel mortally wounded by whatever they get told. But then if they understand their preference, they know that after 24 hours of thinking about it, they can take what they should take from that feedback and use it to help themselves improve. The second type are the eagles. So these are task-focused people who are also extroverted. You think about an eagle that's flying in nature. It's up high. So eagles tend to be people that are quite visionary. They can see the big picture as a natural way of seeing the world. And these, again, are just like windows through which people see the world and affect our preferences. So an eagle can get the job done. They like to win. They're very highly competitive. If you cross an eagle, you'll probably find out about it because they can strike very directly and with intent when the time is right to do that, and they like to win. They're very much like your Action Jacksons when there's a crisis. So if there's a crisis, you need eagles around because while everyone else might be wondering what's going on and being scared and still or whatever the case may be, eagles are the ones that can see what needs to get done and they jump in and do it. They tend to be attracted to the armed forces, the police services, ambulance, fire brigade, etc. because that preference to be an eagle, to step up and get things done, is there. And again, it's not that they don't like people, but it is about getting the task done. So if they are forced to make a choice between keeping people happy and getting the job done and winning, get the job done and winning any day of the week. Next we have our owls. Now our owls are our task-focused people, but they're introverted, so they're quite quiet. If you think about an owl in nature, it's sitting there observing, taking everything in. Now often our peacocks and eagles can interpret their behaviour as being aloof. It's not aloof at all, it's just how they see the world. There's no point saying anything if I've got nothing of value to say. So it's not that they don't have something to say, it's just that they won't tell you, A, unless they're asked, and B, unless they truly believe themselves they've got something to say. Whereas these two bird types are quite happy with change because usually they're leading the change. These folk over here are risk averse, so they will look at what's wrong with this issue. If there is change coming, they want to know this systematic approach to that change. So these people like systems and planning and having things spelled out and logical. They're our typical owls. Next we have our people who are also introverted. Now they share some of the aspects of the owl in terms of being introverted. They also share the aspects of the owl about change. It's not that they can't change, it's just that they need to know why the change is occurring. And most importantly for our dove types is that change for them means that the people that they're working with is going to change, and they are worried and concerned about people. If you think about a dove in nature, it's a symbolic of peace. Now our doves naturally are good at solving other team members' issues and problems. So if there's a problem or a conflict going on between other team members, you'll find that our doves will be there sorting it out. That said, if the conflict directly involves our doves, what do they want to do? They want to fly away. Now it's important that we recognise and understand these preferences. And it's not that each of us only has one. Most of us are competent in two of these preferences. For me, it's predominantly the peacock and the eagle. They're my two strengths, if you like, in this particular model. Some people are as many as 3 in terms of their level of competence. Now if we look at the diagonals, that's where the most conflict in terms of completely different views of the world exist. So the eagle and the dove have very different views of the world, as does the peacock and the owl. Now it's not that anyone's right or wrong. If we don't understand these differences, then we're going to communicate differently. As a simple example, an eagle with an email will send a message to anybody, which could include a dove and a peacock, that such as this. No introduction, just the project deadline has now moved from Wednesday to Tuesday. I need the report by Tuesday 3 p.m. Send. No hi Gary, no kind regards at the beginning end, just straight to the point. An eagle, a dove or a peacock on the other hand might write a similar sort of level. Hi Gary, how are you going? Hope you're progressing well with the project. Just thought I'd let you know that there's been a change in the deadline and the schedule for the project. It's now moving from Wednesday to Tuesday at 3 p.m. and I'd really appreciate if you could send me the updated report by 3 p.m. on Tuesday. I really appreciate your help. Thank you, Gary. Now, they're getting the same message across, but they do it in completely different ways. You'll notice that the dove and the peacock use a hell of a lot more words. Words that the eagle and often the owl will interpret as fluff. And it's not that it is fluff, it's just how they see the world. So when the owl or the dove receives that initial email from the eagle, they're sitting there going, boy, he didn't even say hello. What have I done wrong? And that's often the place I go to, what have I done wrong? If they didn't even acknowledge me as a human because of my people focus, I'm going to wonder what I did wrong, and the peacock will do something similar. Now straight away we have a communication issue here which can affect the performance of the team. Because if I think that you think I've done something wrong and or I think that you think I've done something inappropriate, then when I'm around you, do you think I'm going to behave differently? The answer is yes. That thinking that I've got in my head about what I think you think will affect my behaviour. So if I, just because of an email, think that you think I've done something wrong or you don't like me, that's going to make me change my behaviour around you, which is got nothing to do with what the eagle was trying to convey. As far as the eagle is concerned, my relationship with you has got nothing to do with the message. I was just telling you the facts, which is how eagles and owls will see the world. That's just one example of how understanding personality profiles can impact the performance of a team. So I encourage you to get to understand a model. You can actually access this specific tool through myself. through organisations that matter. If you'd like to do the technical version of it, or I can do the quick and dirty version we described with live teams. But if you want to become the best leader that you can be and move beyond being good, then it's really important that you get to understand how this element of personality preferences affects performance with your teams. And I look forward to working with you next time.